To get the ball rolling, the first presentation of the day comes from Dr. Patrick McGetrick. Patrick is a structural engineer and a lecturer in civil engineering at University of Galway, leading research and teaching in timber engineering and sustainable infrastructure systems. He's also director of the Timber Engineering Research Group. So, Patrick McGetrick.
Thank you very much, Helen. Good morning, everyone. Today I'll be presenting on timber in construction, or timber for sustainable construction in particular. I guess this would also address some of the comments that Deputy Cahill also mentioned during his introduction. I'd like to start just briefly by highlighting what underpins a lot of our research. Most of our group are engineers, structural engineers. We like breaking things. But at the end of the day, for materials, we need to consider what is the end purpose, what's the application. So in terms of sustainable development, there are three key pillars that we always have to keep in mind that relate to the environmental, our planet, economic, our profits, and social, our people. And these are all interlinked. And what the main focus we have is on whole life cycle thinking. So in the past, we would have focused on what's the initial cost of this project or building, where can we get the materials. Whereas now we're more so considering right from, for example, in forestry, where the seed is coming from, where the trees are coming from, right through to when that building reaches the end of its life cycle, what do we do with the materials? And that underpins a lot of research in engineering, in timber around the world at the moment. Timber itself, it's the name that refers to wood that has been harvested or processed to form structural or non-structural products. In our group, we tend to focus on structural products, but there are a lot of benefits to timber. It's a local homegrown resource. It's a renewable natural resource. It can be reused. And the life cycle is shown here where when we process the trees, timber is generally easily cut, and particularly materials like Sitka spruce, easily milled and produced into products that can be used in our buildings. And in Ireland, we produce a large volume of material that is suitable for constructing our homes. One of the concerns with timber I hear a lot tends to relate to fire, but from our perspective, we're generally not as concerned about fire as we are about water. Fire and timber and steel and concrete is very well understood, but moisture is an area that needs to be taken care of. So that's where correct design and detailing comes in. So understand your material and how you should use it. I did want to highlight this article last year in the Irish Times that raised the question of, can timber-framed homes using Irish timber be part of a solution to reduce carbon emissions? And I'd say that the answer to that is yes, and I want to highlight some of the reasons for that today, and some of the background on it. So, what are challenges facing us? The plot on the screen there, just in general, it's an increasing chart. It's just showing an increase in population in Europe over the last, I think it's about the last 60 years or so. But populations have been increasing, and European populations have started to increase again. We need up to 50,000 new homes per year. And if we were to build all of those in timber frame in Ireland, that's about 1 million metres cubed of timber. And we do produce more than that in Ireland, but it's something that needs to be assessed in terms of sustainability going forward, in terms of afforestation. Can we maintain that longer term? Because we do need to replace certain volumes of concrete and steel with materials such as timber, or we won't achieve the reductions that we've already signed up to as a country. Something that is that I did want to highlight as well, just in terms of our housing projections. This plot is just showing from the CSO projected populations in Ireland over the next number of years. We've already hit our 2026, the maximum projected population. So housing demand is only likely to increase because our population looks like it's already higher than we expected it would be in 2026. We also have the lowest percentage of people who live in apartments in Europe. The average in Europe is about 42%. We're at about 8%. But that's where most efficiencies in construction can be achieved in terms of materials and emissions. We have the second highest per capita greenhouse gas emissions in Europe, and nearly 40% of emissions come from the built environment and construction. About half of those come from concrete. And we have an associated increase then. If we're going to build 50,000 houses every year, we're increasing construction, concrete, masonry block. We won't meet net zero if we stay with traditional materials. We need to use timber. We have a huge opportunity in Ireland because of the amount of timber that will be available in the next number of years, and if we maintain higher levels of afforestation into the future for our children and grandchildren and on into the future. But we can substitute carbon and steel with structural timber. I have some figures on that later for reference. And we need to link construction demand with forestry policy, and that, along with land use and wood value chains, hasn't been fully linked to date to show the value that's there. And just to highlight what can be achieved, Scotland currently uses about 9 of their new housing, 92% of it is timber frame. In Ireland, we're at about 20% or 24% overall, and we can increase this. Some challenges for timber in Ireland. We haven't had new guidelines for timber procurement since 2013. A lot has changed. There aren't many exemplar timber building case studies in Ireland that highlight the reductions that can be achieved and the benefits of timber. So I'd argue that we need a wood-first policy needed in all tender criteria. So it doesn't mean you have to build in timber, but you should be at least considering it rather than ruling it out. Just in terms of timber itself, it has about 8 times less emissions by volume than a material such as concrete. Okay. Just highlight a number of, there's a huge number range of products that we can use in our building systems, and I wanted to highlight a few of them here in a number of projects. Centre Park Swimming Pool in Longford uses very large span and timber beams for the roof, glulam beams. These are projects that are already being built in Ireland. They're pushing the limits of engineering, showing what you can do with timber, and in this example here in Avondale Forest Park in Wicklow, what can be done with Irish timber. Other examples around Europe and in Sweden, they're building 7-story apartment blocks, modular timber housing. They go up very quickly and they're ready on site within a couple of months. But you can push the boundaries. Timber is being used to build structures that are 20 stories high. Lastly, just to finish on some of our current research, one of our current projects is the sustainable construction and assessment of the full life cycle impact of Irish harvested wood products. And the main purpose of this project is to quantify the impact of timber products in construction in terms of their carbon footprint and their environmental impacts. And this directly addresses certain measures and actions of our climate action plan that state that we must move towards timber and reduce our carbon footprint from construction materials, considering how much of the emissions in Ireland come from that sector. Lastly, to highlight just some recent projects that we work right from the forest through to construction products. Upper images show testing of engineered applications of Irish-grown birch through flooring panels or used in dowels, and also development of finger jointing technology for spruce, but that would apply to any species, where you can make much bigger products from smaller elements when you use finger jointing. So in conclusion and recommendations, timber frame and engineered timber products are viable solutions for sustainable construction in Ireland. I mentioned that figure earlier, about 1 million metres cubed, if we wanted to go to full timber construction for residential in Ireland. But I think we do need a wood-first policy because we need cultural change. So it's okay to learn from best international practice, but we won't put it into practice unless there is cultural change. So incentives are required. Mandatory whole life cycle carbon reporting for all construction projects is required and is coming. Building regulation review needs to be ongoing, and we also need a lot of education, research, training and public awareness to promote the benefits of timber, because I don't think it's well understood just yet. Thank you very much for your time.